Over the next 5 years, we will likely see a number of jumps between All Elite Wrestling and WWE, and one of the most likely to make the switch is Sami Zayn. After signing with WWE in 2013, Zayn started off strong in NXT, eventually becoming the champion of the brand. Following his call up to the main roster in 2015, he was never given the push fans felt the underdog deserved. Zayn has been outspoken against WWE's business practices for some time and didn't do himself any favors when he understandably stayed at home during the early weeks of the pandemic, which led to him being stripped of the Intercontinental Championship. Not only that, but he was banned from appearing at shows in Saudi Arabia due to him being of Syrian descent. Although Zayn is currently a featured player on SmackDown's undercard, it's likely WWE is merely giving him a slight push in hopes of him staying with the company instead of jumping to the competition. Zayn's unhappiness with WWE's corporate policies, along with friendships with several AEW wrestlers, makes it easy to see him becoming All Elite when his contract expires in the fall of 2021. This could potentially see the return of the popular El Generico character. Matt Hardy signed with AEW so he could express himself creatively, and he's done that for the last year. Whether it was his feud alongside the Elite against the Inner Circle, his run as the guiding force behind Private Party, and more recently The Butcher and the Blade, Hardy has showed off multiple personas in his short run in Jacksonville. Whilst Matt is certainly doing more in AEW than he would have had he stayed in WWE, it seems it won't be long before he hangs up his boots for good. This could lead to WWE convincing the Broken One to sign back with them in order to work as an agent and to be added to the Hall of Fame alongside his brother Jeff, going down in history as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Although it's unknown when his contract is up, Matt signed with AEW in March 2020 on what is likely a 2 to 3 year deal. A former cast member of Being the Elite, Adam Cole would certainly be welcome in AEW. During his time in the Bullet Club, Cole was a regular feature of the web show before eventually being killed off when he signed with NXT in 2017. Not only is AEW full of Cole's close friends, but it won't hurt that his girlfriend Dr. Britt Baker is there too. Due to his size, Adam Cole likely isn't a Vince guy, which means his current push on the black and gold brand could melt faster than a WWE ice cream bar in an Inferno match once he's called up to the main roster. Cole has so much to offer in AEW, and not only is he still very young, only aged 31, but he also fits in well with the style of wrestling AEW fans love. You can bet that if Cole was a free agent when AEW was started, he would have been one of the first names signed up. He could well be one of the next big jumps from WWE to AEW, and it is believed that his current WWE contract expires sometime in around January 2022, which means he could be making the switch sooner than you think. Chris Jericho has successfully reinvented himself so many times, both in WWE and AEW. Jericho's jump to AEW was one of the most surprising moves in wrestling, but most of all for Vince McMahon, who was so shocked that he told Jericho to find a way out of his contract so he could come back to WWE. That didn't happen, and Jericho helped put WWE's competition on the map, drawing many WWE fans' eyes to the product. He's now done his job in AEW, given the new promotion some much needed star power, and has helped get over a variety of wrestlers in the process. With Jericho now on the tail end of his career and likely having already peaked in AEW during his championship reign, a jump to WWE in a role as a commentator and a Hall of Fame induction would be a good way to put a full stop on his wrestling career. His contract is said to expire in January 2022, which would open up the possibility for him to appear in several WWE Hall of Fame inductions in the next 5 years. 31-year-old Andrade has watched his career steadily go downhill in WWE. Things started off strong in NXT, where he won the NXT Championship before debuting on the main roster in 2018. Andrade defeated Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship in December of 2019 to begin a 6-month run with the belt. That said, despite having what it takes to be a top star, Andrade has been missing in action since the fall of 2020 2020, going undrafted in the October draft. He recently requested his release from his contract, which shows he's not too happy with his booking. The request as of this recording has been denied. With that said, rumors have spread that the former La Sombra has interest in joining New Japan faction LIJ if his release is eventually granted or when his contract expires. He is a founding member of the Mexican version of the group in CMLL, and if he does make the jump to New Japan, we could see Andrade in AEW as part of their talent trade agreement, especially with him being based in Florida. Already a money performer on the microphone, Dr. Britt Baker has improved tremendously over the past year in the ring, and she's arguably one of the best female performers in AEW. Hot off the heels of her brutal lights out match with Thunder Rosa in the main event of the St. Patrick's Day Dynamite, Baker has reached another level of stardom, elevating herself and the division as a whole. Despite this, AEW's women's division isn't seen on the level of NXT or WWE's, and the chance to wrestle the likes of Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, or even Bayley has to be tempting for Baker. She was already on WWE's radar before signing with AEW, having made several appearances for them, and her continued improvement makes her an attractive prospect for the McMahons to steal. If Adam Cole doesn't make the jump to Jacksonville, we could well be seeing Baker go the other way. Britt signed in January 2019 and likely signed a 3-year deal, which estimates that she will be available in around 1 year's time. Ricochet is the quintessential AEW style wrestler, a high flyer who has charisma and can work fast-paced matches that keep fans glued to the television. Despite his mind-blowing talent, Ricochet has been woefully underutilized in WWE, and with the exception of a brief United States Championship reign, he's done little more than put talent over as a jobber. And before we continue, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you drop a like down below as it helps me out a lot, and why not subscribe as we head towards 10,000 subscribers. But let's get back to the video. There is so much more for Ricochet to do in WWE, but short of a complete change in management, there doesn't seem to be any hope for him besides entertaining the fans with exciting matches before counting the lights. The former NXT North American Champion's contract expires in 2024, which seems a long way off for the 32-year-old. With the possibility of him being released almost non-existent, he could be stuck on B shows for a few years to come before he can make the jump to AEW, where he can become a true star. Not only is MJF better than you and me, he's the best heel in the business, bar none. Friedman continues to improve every week, and at times it's hard to believe that he's only 25. WWE will likely throw a ton of money at him when his contract expires in the hope of wooing him away from AEW and their competition. WWE's senior vice president Bruce Pritchard is a huge fan, having worked with him in MLW, and naming MJF and Matt Riddle as the next top stars in the business, and this was of course before Bruce rejoined WWE in 2018. On top of this, MJF grew up a huge WWE fan, having been pictured at meet and greets, as well as a famous photo of him holding a WWE replica belt. This could be a sign of things to come. It may be difficult for many AEW fans to hear, but MJF leaving AEW for WWE would be a great heel move as he turns his back on the promotion that made him famous. MJF's contract ends in 2024, which gives him 3 years to hone his skills and increase his market value before breaking the hearts of AEW fans worldwide, which I'm sure he'd take great pride in. The Aleister Black story is a familiar tale in the WWE, a gifted performer who fails to find favour with Mr. McMahon, resulting in a career tailspin. Like several wrestlers on the list, including Ricochet and Andrade, Black was pushed by Paul Heyman before dropping down the pecking order once Heyman was removed as Raw's creative director. While the WWE will never admit it, Black, who is married to Zelina Vega, is likely being punished due to his wife standing up to their policy on use of third-party platforms, refusing to shut down her Twitch account. This led to her release in 2020. With Tony Khan now publicly publicly expressing interest in Tia Trinidad, who is the former Zelina Vega, the two could end up working in the same company again, this time in AEW. Black working for All Elite Wrestling would also open up the possibility of him working in New Japan, and with his style, that is something I would love to see. The Dutch Destroyer signed his WWE contract in June of 2016, so unless he signed a contract extension somewhere along the way, Black will be free to leave in 2021, as WWE typically doesn't sign contracts for longer than 5 years. Kenny Omega signing with WWE? Impossible, you may say, especially in light of his position as one of AEW's executive vice presidents. Nonetheless, I'm boldly predicting that the best bout machine will finally make the jump when his contract expires in 2023. This may seem counterintuitive since the current AEW World Champion turned them down in December of 2018. However, Omega has said that he was interested, but at the time, AEW had so much to offer, allowing him to take up an executive role in setting up a national wrestling promotion. However, as Sting and AJ Styles showed in the past, the lure of having at least one WWE run is often irresistible, even to those that you may think will never make the jump. Omega will be no exception as he joins the company to prove himself alongside some of the biggest names in the business. This opens up a ton of possibilities for dream matches, and this will be ever more likely should Triple H have taken the reins by this point. Omega's AEW deal ends in 2023, which will make him around the age of 39 years old, which gives him time for one big run in WWE.